DNVR Broncos podcast coming to you from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar. And the A today stands for...
Avalanche!
Let's go. Avalanche. Game 1. Avs Blues tonight. Your boy is going.
Should
be great. I was going to say A stands for about how many.
Oh, I like that. I like that. A little more focused on Broncos.
Yes, exactly. About how many wins is Russell Wilson worth?
And actually, let's do that with the Avs. About how many games will it take the Avs to win the series? Or you could say negative, but that would be bad.
I'm going to say I would set the over-under at 4.5.
Really? You think another sweep could be coming?
I think so.
I'll take the over, but by half a game. I'll go 5. The Avs take care of them in 5.
Here's where I'm a little bit conflicted. Because before their little skid at the end of the season, when they were just humming, I was like, I have this weird premonition. I have a premonition that the Avs might just mow down the playoffs. Like, just skate right through everyone.
Literally.
And I was like, this premonition is making me uncomfortable because it's setting expectations way too high. But then we saw what they did to Nashville. I mean, Nashville's really only stood a chance in one game. Yeah. And there was one game where they fought and, made it a little more difficult. But the other one that they were in was just because some random goalie had a crazy game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the Avs dominated that game on both ends of the ice. So, we'll see. But I would set it at 4.5.
Yeah, and I'll take the slight over there. And you know what? Going 8-1 in your first 2 series, pretty damn good.
Yeah, or just 8-0.
There you go.
Should be a fun one down there tonight. I'm excited. They took out Matt Duchene. Now they get a chance to do it to Ryan O'Reilly. Of course, Ryan O'Reilly ran his mouth a little bit last year. Weirdly quiet.
Not weird at all. No, makes tons of sense. He ran his mouth and then got beat.
Got ran.
And then he just had to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, very quiet this time. It's interesting. I was kind of hoping he would double down.
Right. I mean, at this point, you embarrass the hell out of yourself. Might as well just go all in this year.
Yeah, just be the guy who guarantees victory.
Right. And then because you've already failed once, if you do it again, okay, your track record's a little better, but right now he's batting over.
Yep, he sure is. So that'll be a fun one. Can't wait. Vibe's going to be immaculate over there.
And down here.
I'm making big plans for I'm all about if you're going to go to a game and spend the type of money that you have to spend.
Especially for a second round series.
Yeah. You got to make it a whole thing.
Okay. What are we talking?
I'm inviting all my friends that are going to the game over before. Nice. Do a little barbecue.
What time's the party start?
Really as soon as I get home.
Game's at 7:30?
4:15.
Oh, there we go. Love it.
Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping on this show. So like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about what Russell Wilson's true worth is. Like, how many actual wins is he worth? We've already got a comment in here saying 1, maybe 2.
Whoa.
Are those guys that had you on their radio show in Vegas yesterday?
Yeah, I'm saying Russ is washed.
Yep. So we'll talk about that in a second. First, a shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can bet 5 to win 150 on any NBA money line. But the crazy part is you don't even have to win. You just have to play. So lots of good NBA series coming up here. A lot of good players out, which is kind of sad. really just sad that Jokic is out, but like it is weird that all top four MVP candidates are out of the playoffs.
See, I love watching greatness, so I do cheer for the stars to make it through. But after Jokic was out and after all those other 3 guys and their cities came out and were like, well, see, who's the one that's not playing? He shouldn't have won it. Then I was like, yeah, let's get these other guys out.
Yeah, especially Embiid.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say Giannis.
I like Giannis a lot.
He's fine. He could still be in, but I'm not heartbroken that he's out.
I feel like Giannis fans and Jokic fans have like a little bit of an alliance.
Cut from the same cloth?
Yeah, and I honestly think Embiid, it's a testament to Giannis because I think Embiid fans also like Giannis.
But Embiid fans do not like Jokic.
No.
Yep.
Which, like, there's nothing unlikable about him. And to be fair, the only thing that you could maybe say about Embiid is, like, he whines a little too much.
Definitely.
Like, the whole, like, what do I have to do to win MVP? And as I said on Twitter, you have to be better than Nikola Jokic at basketball.
That
anyway,
seems pretty straightforward.
Speaking of MVPs, Broncos have a dude who I think is going to be in the conversation this year. We'll see what happens. I think a lot of players in the AFC West are going to be in the conversation this year, and it's going to be fun to watch. What if they didn't, though?
Oh, no.
This would give us... Now, I do not like going back to this time. In fact, I hardly even remember it. But I think a better way than just saying, like, oh, yeah, Russ is worth this many wins or Russ is worth that many wins would be to go through the schedule again. We've done it once before. We'll go a little faster this time. And say, okay, well, if they didn't have Russ, how would we feel about this game? I have an interesting thought about where this is headed.
And Ryan, I'm really happy we're doing this because, like you said, we had one commenter already on YouTube that said 1, maybe 2. We have someone that says 11 or 10 wins.
I think they mean total.
Oh, a total. Okay, well then Mr. Orange comes in and says, well, I would say 5 to 10 wins. Well, right there, that's a massive window in itself. And I do think that there's some quarterbacks out there, some starting quarterbacks in the NFL that are worth 1 to 2 wins. Peyton Manning was worth double-digit wins, and you literally saw it in 2010 and 2011 when they were a 12-4 team, and then they had the number 1 overall pick when they didn't have Peyton for a whole season. So I'm curious where we come up with Russ here.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton literally was a 10-win player.
Yep.
Like
just on his own.
At least.
And that's why it was just, I mean, so many reasons why it's so stupid then. And hindsight being 2020, it is so stupid that they let him go. And I understand to get Andrew Luck, but man, when you have one of the best of all time in your building, you don't let them go. And now while Russ might not be one of the best of all time right now, Ryan, we're going to be having this conversation. I mean, we've already had it, and we're going to be having it in 10 years. We're going to be having it in 30 years about what in the world were the Seattle Seahawks thinking? How stupid were they? But you know what? It doesn't really matter because the Broncos, it's going to work out for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I think we have a schedule queued up. Let's bring this thing up and start to discuss how this would look. Now, I think first and foremost, we have to answer the biggest question. If not Russ, then who?
What would have happened?
And I think it would be too difficult to go through like free agent quarterbacks or the draft and try to project, you know, what they would look like with this team. Now, there's 2 guys that we saw play with this team, almost exactly the same team, give or take a few things here and there. And I think we have to choose one of those. So if the Broncos did not make a trade for Russell Wilson, who would be their quarterback?
I think it'd be Teddy Bridgewater, and that's assuming that they don't get Aaron Rodgers, that they don't get any of the big pieces, because, Ryan, we saw the entire NFL world speak to what they thought of this rookie quarterback class, and no one liked him.
Does it change your approach at all that Drew Lock is an expected starter in this league next year and Teddy Bridgewater is not?
No, it doesn't at all, because I think Teddy's going to get a very fair shot in Miami, and I think Drew Lock being the starter shows you kind of where the Seahawks are trying to go here.
For me, I think I would maybe make the case to go the other way. But
okay, we can do that. Let's go with Drew.
No, because then it just complicates it. Let's go with the starting quarterback from last year.
Okay.
My case would have been like, I think Nathaniel Hackett would have like found a way to love Drew.
I'm fine going Drew.
No, let's go Teddy.
Okay.
Let's be honest. It's, you know, I don't want to say anything politically incorrect here. It's
They probably they may have got you to the same spot different ways.
Yes.
Through 150-yard passing game with 1 touchdown, no picks from Teddy, and 240 yards passing with 1 touchdown and 2 picks for Drew, and then you kind of end up in the same area.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go Teddy.
Okay. So week 1. Now, one more thing we have
exactly
to figure
what
out.
I was about to say.
Do the Seattle Seahawks have Russell Wilson?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
So right then and there, it's an L. Now, we have never heard of another team being involved in these talks. I have to assume there were other teams that would have wanted Russell Wilson.
Well, right before the Commanders did want him. I think they offered 3 first-round picks.
That is true. I forgot about this.
And Russ essentially said no.
Smart man.
Yep.
No one should ever want to go there.
Nothing wrong with DC, but outside of DC, everything's wrong with everything about that team and even where they play.
They're not even in DC.
Right, exactly.
And they don't even. What's crazy is their stadium is on one complete side of town. The practice facility is on another complete side of town. Where the practice facility is a lot nicer than where the stadium is, but still.
It's very bizarre. And, the Broncos are technically in Inglewood, but at least their stadium's in Denver.
Yes.
Not like you have the stadium in Fort Collins and their facility in the Springs.
Some of the younger players like to live in Denver. I know like Noah Fant was living in Denver for a little while. So that you can do that. It's a 25 to 45-minute drive depending on traffic.
Yep, and if you're getting there early enough to the facility,
true,
it's
no
about 20
traffic
minutes.
at 5 a.m. All right, so if they have Russell Wilson, the Broncos have Teddy, it's a loss.
Yep, and now if someone wanted to push back, they could say, well, Russell Wilson came here against Case Keenum and lost, but in Seattle, week 1, I'm giving it to the Seahawks as well.
Same. All right, week 2 against the Texans.
Right, and this has to be a win, or else I don't think we're going to pick any wins on the schedule. I was going to
say, that one is a dub, and I'm trying, this is really hard. I want to put myself in the mindset of, if we were doing, because it's really easy to be like lost,
right.
all this, so I'm trying to take myself back and be like, okay, if I was being optimistic, which I would have been, we all know me, what would I have been saying?
Yeah.
This one absolutely positively has to be a dub.
Even if you're trying to be pessimistic, it's a dub. Now, this next one, Ryan, man, I just am not that high on San Francisco because they don't like or know about who their quarterback is right now. And to me, we've been through this for so many years. It's hard for me to buy into a team when they can't buy into their quarterback.
For sure. Real quick, if you're playing along in the chat, just put like the team name, colon, dub or L. Because if you're just typing dub L, then we're not going to know what you're talking about. So team name, win or loss.
And do play along with us.
Yeah, we'd love that. Okay. I would be looking at this schedule, being optimistic, being like, okay, they're going to go with Trey Lance. He's not going to be ready this early in the season. It's at home. I always talk about the Broncos at home early in the season. They're one of the toughest teams ever to beat in the first 3 weeks, or I guess, in the first 3 weeks, September usually. I'd give them a dub.
And I'm fine with that. Why?
Knowing in my head,
that's how you'd be feeling.
It was a toss-up, and I was leaning Broncos.
Right, exactly. So I'm not going to push back. The only reason why I would say it would be a loss is because Nick Bosa and that pass rush against one of these quarterbacks. But Teddy, he can kind of handle the pass rush. So I'll go win there. And now we enter a brutal stretch in my mind, Ryan. At Las Vegas, the second road game of the season. I have this one as a loss with Russell Wilson, so I'm certainly going with the loss here.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the former Broncos era, going into Las Vegas or Oakland, which have both have been around during this time, has been extremely difficult for them. And so that's an L.
Now this next one, Colts Thursday night road or home game. Colts have to travel, so that does give the advantage to the Broncos. Ryan, I'm not that high on the Colts. I think they're certainly going to push for the playoffs. Wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs. But I think the Broncos win this with Russ. However, without him, we're talking about a playoff team, and I know it's a road game for them, which is going to be tough. But still, I think the Colts get the dub here.
I would have given the Broncos a dub.
We can go with that.
Yeah.
We're being optimistic here.
Yep.
So we'll go with the Colts dub here. Now,
you mean Broncos?
Broncos, yes. I can't go this next game with a Broncos win at Los Angeles playing the Chargers.
No, definitely not. As much as I would have wanted to, I would have, in my head, been like, yeah, they'll split with the Chargers.
But you're coming up realistic about the Chargers. I appreciate that, Ryan.
Yeah, they can beat a quarterbackless Broncos.
Yes. And next one for Kale's already got it in. The Jets at home, that's a dub. Easy. I mean, there's 2 gimme games on this schedule. 2 extremely gimme games. It's the Jets and it's the Texans.
So we're actually at 4-3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, and I'm curious to see where this next one goes. Jets at home is a dub. And if it's not, your season is on the fritz right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're 2-4 going into London.
Yep.
We're talking draft.
Oh, we're talking number 1 overall pick potentially.
That is true.
Because of what follows the bye.
Right, exactly. Okay. This next one is tough.
It is.
And again, I have to go back to what I would have been thinking had the Broncos not made this move. I don't believe in the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Now, I would have been weary of just the way that this goes, right? The NFL really wants it to be a Jags home game. I still don't think it quite would have been.
No.
The Broncos fans would have showed out. The Broncos fans are some of the best, if not the best, in the NFL,
especially overseas.
They travel. Exactly. A lot of people will tell us in our comment section, like, they got into the NFL during the Peyton Manning era. There's a huge group of Broncos fans over there. So it would have been even. I would have given the Broncos a dub.
Okay, and I'm fine doing that as well. This would have been a coin flip. But, Ryan, we've got the Broncos going into the bye at 5-3. With Russell Wilson, we had the Broncos going into the bye at 6-2. Or I think I had them at 6-2. You maybe had 7-1. I think it would have balanced out the game after the bye. But it's interesting. Broncos, they started fast last year.
Yep.
And so that's not something we can ignore. It's not like we're being crazy saying a fast start. We do have a couple of losses in there, but they're competitive without Russell Wilson in this season.
In the only, the Colts one, maybe we were a little too favorable. But Thursday night at home, under the lights, all that stuff. And then the 49ers, like, neither of those would have surprised us if it went the other way. You're going to beat the Jets. It's not crazy to say you're going to beat the Texans, and it's certainly not crazy to say you're going to beat the Jags.
And, Ryan, it's about to get really, really tough. But one thing I want to do really quick is tell you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, because they have Week 1 and Week 2 lines of the NFL season up already. Ryan, Broncos, a total 14-point favorite combined in those games. 4-point favorite against Seattle. 10-point favorite against the Texans. Really quick, what would they be in those games without Russ?
What was the Seattle game?
4-point favorite.
If the Seahawks had Russ, they'd at least be a 3-point favorite.
I was going to say, I think Seahawks would be 3. So that's worth 7 right there over at DraftKings. And then Texans at home, 10-point favorite.
This one would have been different. I think the Broncos still would have been 5-point favorites.
I was going to say slightly under 7.
Yep.
So we're right there. And over at DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet on those games now. And Ryan, you can even use free money to bet on those games by betting $5 on any NBA money line game in the playoffs. You get $150 in free bets in your account. You can take that money and then place it on the Broncos -4. Place it on the Broncos -10 for the Texans. And we know that other lines are going to be coming out soon. So head over to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get $150 in free bets by just placing a $5 bet on any NBA money line game over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Someone play the infomercial sound. I don't know if there's a sound for that, but I'm going to say, if you or someone you know has been affected by billionaire greed, stopping you from being able to watch your favorite teams, head now to evaca.tv/DNVR, and we have a solution for you. Go to evacatv.tv/DNVR. Our friends over at Evaca have solved a problem that has plagued so many Coloradans for a while now, not being able to watch the Avs, not being able to watch the Nuggets, not being able to watch the Rapids. And on top of it, you can also watch the Rockies over there on Evaca TV. So go over there and check it out. What's the best part? $25 a month.
Boom.
Plus 10 to rent your receiver. But the good news is when you use the code DNVR and you go to that evaca.tv/DNVR page, $10 off your first 3 months. So $25 a month for your first 3 months. See if you like it. I bet you'll love it.
Oh, you're going to love it. And if you want to watch the games with the fans that you're surrounded by here, come to the DNVR Bar where we've got every single game on. Ryan, the Ball Arena is going to be popping tonight, and the DNVR Bar is going to be lit. It's going to be awesome, and this is the place to be for every single Colorado sporting event, especially in the playoffs. So come after work. You might want to come right after work, get some dinner, grab a seat before the 7:30 game tonight with the Avs, and then also check out all of our coverage over at thednvr.com. Ryan and I are doing a couple of new pieces debuting this week that you want to check out. Some fun ones over there. And, of course, the best Avs coverage, the best Nuggets coverage, the best Rockies coverage. We've got everything going on as well. And if you sign up over at thednvr.com for a yearly membership, you get a free DNVR shirt of your choice when you do. So check us out over at thednvr.com, and also come hang at the bar.
All right. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go on to the post-bye gauntlet.
Yes, and Ryan, you had this first one, the Titans, as a loss with Russ. I had it as a win with Russ. No, this is a loss without Russ. And really quick, for those of you just joining us now, this is what the Broncos' record would be if they did not have Russell Wilson. We want to see just how much he impacts this team.
Yeah, it might be, what was that? It was like the War of the Worlds thing, right? Do you know this story?
No.
Essentially, like a radio program played this, I don't know, audio movie.
Okay.
Essentially, I think it was on Halloween or something like that. And they were pretending that like aliens had come to Earth.
Okay, but it seemed real.
But if you didn't tune in before where they gave you that warning, it seemed real. And so there's like reporters on there being like, aliens have come to Earth, seek shelter immediately. People freaked out.
Oh man.
So that's like what we're doing. If you just tuned in, you're thinking the aliens have landed and abducted the Broncos.
Especially right now, you buy it because you're like, okay, Broncos have a winning record 10 weeks into the season. This is looking good. And what's about to come your way is when it sets in, oh no.
Over under us getting a tweet or a YouTube comment being like, how the hell do they think they're going this record with now?
Over, for sure. I mean, Ryan, literally we talked about something on the pod yesterday. 45 seconds later, we had a YouTube comment that said, what about this? Which we had just talked about. So it's certainly going to happen.
Yeah, we should play like a PSA every
4 seconds.
minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this next one, Raiders at home. The Raiders are better than they've been, and the Broncos still have a hard time beating them. Ryan, I'd go a loss. But if you want to go win, I could be convinced.
I just don't think I would have predicted them to get swept by the Raiders.
Okay. We can go a dub here. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Because, again, I know what's coming. Except not right now. Carolina on the road. I would have gone with the win here. I think Carolina is really bad.
This has happened before, Zach, where at this juncture of the season, there was still hope.
Yeah.
Last year even, right?
Yep.
At this juncture of the season, there was still hope. So what is the Broncos' record right now?
We got 7 wins and 4 losses. 7-4.
7-4. Wow.
Doomsday's coming. Those aliens are about to land, Ryan.
Interesting. I'm kind of surprised where this is going to end up going, but okay, let's keep going. I gotta be true to myself here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Take myself back to a dark time that I hardly remember and try to think how I would have thought then. And this would have been an easy loss.
Yeah, this definitely would have been a loss. And we can just flow that into the next week.
Couldn't really play with them at home last year.
Right.
You're going on the road this time, no way.
Yep, and no way for this one. Although John Harbaugh may not go for records since it's not Vic Fangio coaching the team. Man, if Vic was coaching the team, I could see John Harbaugh trying to go for some obscure record just to rub it in Vic's face, because we heard John Harbaugh about a month ago bring this up again.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Did you hear that?
No.
It was they were talking about they were talking about how the Ravens had something like 4 picks in the third round, 5 picks in the third round, and after the draft or before that round, a reporter said to John Harbaugh, "Did you know that this is a record?" And he said, "No, I didn't know that, but I bet Vic Fangio knew that."
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yep.
That's good. I hated the way he approached it the first time, but that's a nice callback.
Yeah.
Little dig.
I mean, talk about kicking a guy when he's down. Vic doesn't have a job right now.
Apparently, willingly doesn't have a job.
Yeah, apparently.
I would love to get paid to millions of dollars to not do anything. So I can buy it a little bit.
That's why if you can put your ego aside, being a fired head coach is the best job in the world.
For sure. Can he put his ego aside? Sounds like yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It does sound like yes.
All right.
Chiefs is a loss. We can go through that one quick. Cardinals at home, Ryan, and not to spoil this is the last game that I could see the Broncos winning without Russell Wilson.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean we have to give them a win.
I had this one as a loss in my head.
Let's do it.
But I have another one on the schedule that I think is a win.
Okay. Well, let's definitely go loss here then. Rams on the road. Ryan, I have this as a loss with Russell Wilson, so it's definitely a loss here.
Yep, and you can just go right through the next one as well.
Kansas City on the road. Yep, that is a loss as well.
Yep. So we're having I guess a little technical difficulty on the graphic side here, so no worries, Kale.
Don't worry, the aliens aren't coming yet.
Yeah,
on the graphic.
It's tough just because you would. I'm thinking I maybe would have said like they're gonna beat the Chiefs in one of these games, and that would have probably got to a record that I could see myself predicting. But I guess I'm going to go against what I've been saying this whole time. It would have been the home one that I probably would have said, like, this is it.
Right.
Broncos get a couple
Sunday
lucky bounces. Yeah. But it's definitely not this one.
No, it certainly is not. But, Ryan, you have an argument to make about beating the Chargers at home in Week 18.
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways you could go about this. One, I'll never, ever, ever pick the Chargers to sweep the Broncos.
It's very true.
It would never happen.
Yep.
Two, I could have used the crutch of being like, yeah, even if things go well for the Chargers, maybe they have already clinched here. And so, they're starting, I don't know, is it Tyrod Taylor still there? Or did he leave because of distrust?
Boy, who is that? No idea who their backup is.
I don't either. But either way, I would have made the case that the Broncos win that one. Maybe you would have made the case that they beat the Cardinals. Either way, it's going to come out to the same record here, which is 8-9. And that's why I think I probably would have predicted 9-8 one way or another.
Really?
Yeah, because I was being optimistic.
Oh, okay. Right. Back in the day.
I'm saying yes. If I put myself in those shoes, I would have said maybe I would have given them the Niners. Maybe I would, or I guess we did give them the Niners. Maybe I would have given them one of these, the Titans. I don't know. But I think I would have
potentially.
I think I would have got to 9-8, but 8-9. Even then, would have been an improvement over last year.
Yeah, and this would have been taking the next step, right? The Broncos have slowly been taking steps, and none of us believed that those steps were going to lead to a Super Bowl with the steps they were on. It was probably going to balance out somewhere around 9-8, 8-9 at some point. And so this is probably realistic. This is probably being very realistic what I would have thought for this season. Right. 8-9, just a slightly losing record. But George Payton has put good players on this team. He's built a really good team around the quarterback.
Yeah, someone pointed out Tyrod was already in Houston last year. I forgot about that.
Houston has been very irrelevant. So I don't blame
exactly. Also, I kind of ran those 2 years together. All of the losses have just run together into my head as one long, terrible season.
Yep. Yep. So 8-9, Ryan. That means we think Russell Wilson on this team right now is worth 4 wins. Is that what you thought coming into this?
I thought 5 or 6.
Yep, and that's what I thought too.
What's so interesting about this is we look at the schedule right now. Don't you say it's a pretty difficult schedule?
Yeah. Definitely.
When I look at it from the other lens, I see why we would have maybe said it's an easier schedule. Now, we would have talked about the AFC West still being a juggernaut, especially with like Devontae Adams coming, all the signings. Maybe there wouldn't have been as much of an arms race if the Broncos didn't get Russell Wilson. I think that triggered a little bit of an arms race. But what I'm saying is I see there's a lot of winnable games when you're looking at it from being a bad team.
Right.
And you're saying, oh, you can win these ways. You might be able to squeak one out here or there against a better team and squeeze into the playoffs because you have a decent chunk of quote-unquote gimmies. There's no gimmies in the NFL.
Except for the Texans.
We see it every year. I think the Texans beat someone really good last year.
They did. In the second to last week of the season.
Did they beat the Raiders?
Was it the Raiders or was it the Chargers?
That sounds better. I like that. I think they beat the Chargers. I actually really do think that's what happened.
Yeah, in Houston.
Yep. So there's no gimmies, but you could, as you're building the schedule, you're saying, okay, well, that's an easy one, that's an easy one, that's an easy one, that's an easy one, that's an easy one. Build off of that, and you have a chance. But since we've flipped to where, like, we're in the mindset of 11 wins is almost a requirement to make the playoffs, just looking around the division. Now, it might not turn out that way. Someone might underachieve, cough Chargers. But
speaking of the cough Chargers, they did lose to the Texans 41-29 the day after Christmas.
That's juicy. Go Texans. Good job.
Plays into your narrative perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. Someone could underachieve. It could be anyone, honestly. Like, just the same way you can make a case for everyone to be first place in the AFC West, you make the same case for everyone to be last place in the AFC West. I think the toughest case would be the Chiefs. But even then, you could just be like, oh, the passing game falls apart.
Yep.
Tyreek Hill turned out to be a much bigger problem for defenses and a much bigger solution for Patrick Mahomes opening up the middle of the field. I'm not making that case, but someone could and say they're going to be last place. But it would have been very clear that the Broncos were going to get last place if they didn't get Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And I think 8-9 absolutely would be last place in this division this year.
Oh, without a doubt, Ryan. Every team in this division should be a winning record. And I even think every team's going to have double-digit wins. I think the Raiders are going to come in last in this division with a 10-7 record. So 8-9. Boy, the Broncos would have been the easy game on the schedule for every team in the AFC West.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they would have loved it. They would have loved it. Where did you think we were going to come in?
I thought we were going to come in probably 7-10. And I probably would have thought, just looking at the schedule,
5 wins for us.
Exactly, yeah, 5 to 6 wins, because what you have to remember, and I'm happy that we viewed it from the optimistic lens that we would have been viewing it through, Ryan, is this team again has not been awful these past few years. They've been terrible from a Broncos standards perspective, but they've had the 9th pick in the draft in back-to-back years. They haven't had the 5th or 4th or 3rd overall pick. And if we're talking about Teddy Bridgewater, he's going to be good enough where the Broncos aren't terrible. And that was the worst place to be. And that's why an argument from a lot of people, including you last year, was play Drew, because it's a boom or bust. And a bust is not the worst thing ever.
No. And I think, well, I guess could you look back and say it didn't actually matter?
Yeah,
because the
absolutely.
Seahawks accepted 9.
Yep.
Like, if the Broncos would have had 4, they would have sent it as well.
Yep.
It wouldn't have changed. Maybe you get to keep one guy.
Yeah.
Is that, would you say? So maybe it's still worth it. Like, if you had number 4, you could have kept Shelby Harris, maybe.
And that's who you would have been keeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been.
Think it's
it would have been
possible.
nice.
It would have been nice, but in the end, the Seahawks bit on 9. That's all that matters.
But let's throw it the other way. Kind of like we talk about Peyton. One of the reasons that he liked the Broncos was because of how many pieces there were there. And they were an 8-8 team that went to the playoffs with Timothy Tebow. And I love Tim Tebow. But come on, he saw the potential that was there with this team. What if the Broncos do have the 3rd overall pick, Ryan, and they go 4-13 last year? Is Russ forcing his way to the Broncos, or is he thinking, well, maybe I do want to go to the East Coast with Sierra. If I'm joining a bad team, might as well go to someone that's going to be in D.C. instead of Denver. And he doesn't prioritize Denver as much because the pieces don't show that they're there.
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
It all worked out.
It's definitely possible. So you're right. There's push and pull for everything. When the Broncos win a Super Bowl sometime soon, I'll look back and say, everything was right. No wrong moves because you won a Super Bowl.
Yep, exactly. And this is interesting because in my head, coming into this pod, I set the over-under at 4.5 wins for Russ. I personally thought it was going to be over. We came in just under. But if we talk about this from a long-term perspective, I don't think Russ necessarily adds a number of games each season. What I think he does, Ryan, should be pretty much an automatic double-digit wins.
Yep. And then you give or take a few here or there.
Yep.
4 wins, even though it doesn't sound like much, is exponential. It's massive. It's the difference between not sniffing the playoffs, which you wouldn't have at 8 and 9, and comfortably making the playoffs, which you would at 12 wins.
Yeah, 100%. And year in, year out. It's the difference between saying you have the franchise guy and you're competing for a Super Bowl every year and talking about how you're in purgatory because you're not a terrible team, but you're not a team that's ever going to compete for the division. And Ryan, since Russ was drafted in 2012, the Seahawks have 8 8 seasons with 10 or more wins. And that's in an era where most of those seasons were in a 16-game schedule. So the 2 seasons that they didn't, they went 9-7 in 2017. If they had an extra game, could have easily got to 10-7. And then last year, which they would not have got to double-digit wins. So realistically, you can make the case that Russ legitimately is nearly 90% guarantee rate of getting double-digit wins. And that is being relevant. That is being in the playoffs. And then you're going to have seasons like he had where they went 13-3, where that may be 14-3 in a couple of years down the road. They went 12-4 a couple of times.
Yeah, double digits. Print it.
Yep.
Put it down.
Yep. And that was with, again, a Seattle Seahawks organization that was making funky moves left and right. Really bad draft choices, really weird moves with their roster. So far, we have all the faith in George Paton that he's not doing that because he hasn't done that yet.
Other than DK Metcalf, what other draft picks were really good for them post-Super Bowl?
Post-Super Bowl, Tyler Lockett came in 2015 or 2016, a third-round guy. He seems good, but again, we're talking about a guy
Dependent
that was
position,
helped out by Russell Wilson himself.
And DK.
Yes, and DK as well.
I think DK would have succeeded in most situations.
I agree.
At like a Cortland Sutton level, maybe a little above.
Right.
And maybe I'm taking too much away from him there, so I'll even say...
I don't think so.
Because I think right now, he's like one notch above Cortland, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
And so, is Russell Wilson just make up that notch?
Yeah,
because like what he does for them is win jump balls, and he's definitely bigger and stronger, and probably jumps higher than Cortland Sutton.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not fair to say that Russell completely evens that out.
And it's hard from a stats.
Maybe Cortland's a better route runner.
Potentially, and it's hard from a stats perspective because there's going to be more guys here that Russ is throwing the ball to, so he's not necessarily going to have DK's stats.
All right. This is interesting. 4 wins. Feels low, but when you boil it down and you think it out, it seems about right. Now, could you easily make the case that the Broncos would have gone 7-9 or 7-10 or 6-11? I think you could absolutely, and people would have been doing it.
Flip the San Francisco game. I think some people are going to call us crazy for saying the Broncos beat San Francisco, but I mean, there's a couple of games that we said were coin flips. We gave the advantage to the Broncos, and there you get to 5-6 wins.
And honestly, I very easily could have gone through the schedule and gone L. But I was trying
Jets and Texans win.
Trying to be in the mindset of where we would have been. There's no way we would have sat here as the schedule came out and said the Broncos are going 5-12.
No, definitely not. But still, so our range is kind of 4 to 7 wins for us.
Yeah, and I think he's absolutely worth that. I'm so antsy. It's the best feeling. The best feeling. Just can't, wanting Broncos football to be here so badly. Mm-hmm. I can't necessarily say, you always get a kick at some point in the summer where you're like, ooh, football's coming soon.
Yep.
But it's more in the last few years, it's a lot more been about football season, not Broncos season.
Right, 100%.
And this is all about the Broncos. Every time I close my eyes, I see Russell Wilson throwing a dope pass to one of those receivers.
Mm-hmm. And now it's about the Denver Broncos on national perspective too. 5 prime time games, Ryan. I can't wait, and I'm antsy to talk to the people. Should we hop into the comment section after I tell you about our friends over at Green Mountain Dental, where they have such a cool thing going on, Ryan, and they've done it for a long time, and it's because they want to show you how good of an experience you're going to have over at Green Mountain Dental. If you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush. You're going to get your teeth cleaned anyways. Might as well go to a place that's going to treat you right. They're going to treat you like a family, and they're going to give you a gift of a free Sonicare toothbrush when you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam. They may be in the bar here tonight hanging out with us because they're part of our family. We go to them, and they treat everyone just like family. So check them out. You can go talk Colorado sports with them over there at Green Mountain Dental.
All right, and let's talk one very specific Colorado sport with our comment section. Do we have any super chats? No super chats, so let's move right into our guy, LDJ. You know he's going to have something good.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, guys, so did I hear that Zac say that a radio station believes Russ is cooked and on the decline? Nice. This is LDJ territory.
Here we go, baby.
A self-aware king. You know, I've been getting several perspectives on how nationally and in division from the Seahawks and what they think of this team. And sadly, they're buying that Russ is on the decline. The narrative, they're blaming the lack of production by our weapons, and that our wide receiver core is overhyped and is not that good. Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football brought up Jerry Jeudy recent arrest as a bit of a misinformed cheap shot. The defense, The defense they don't believe in without Fangio, etc. Broncos will finish 4th in the division, but my rebuttal is simple. You can't say that since 2020 that if Denver gets a QB, watch out for this team. And then when we don't just go get Matt Ryan or Carson, we get Russell freaking Wilson, and now you say he's on the decline without acknowledging that in 13 games he had a better TD to INT and QBR and completion percentage than Brady and Stafford in their last seasons and their previous teams. And lastly, if this roster wasn't so good, why were Seahawks fans and Seahawks radio upset they didn't get more of our young talent? They wanted Jerry Jeudy, Javonte, Chubb, Pat Surtain. But yeah, I guess with those pieces still on the team, we'll finish last in the division, right? LOL SMH. In the words of the great Steve Atwater, we'll see.
LDJ, we called you to step up to the plate, and we need a grand slam. And boy, did you deliver. You hit it out of the park, LDJ, our specialty coming off the bench for a grand slam. They're great comment. And one of the things that he said that I was asked about by the Las Vegas radio, which they believe in, is they said, well, now without Vic Fangio, aren't you expecting a significant decline from this defense? And the defense isn't going to keep you in games anymore. And I said, yeah, I'm personally expecting a drop from this defense. But the Broncos, that means they're finally entering the 21st century of football, where you win from your offense, and then you just need a good enough defense to keep you around. And if the Broncos, I don't expect the Broncos defense to be bad. They still have a lot of good pieces. But Ryan, I think it's silly to expect a top 3, top 5 defense from them. If they're borderline top 10, if they're just above average, I think that's right where they should be, because this offense is going to be top 10, and that's what's going to carry them to the playoffs. Then with a good defense that's there with them, good to average defense, and that's what the Broncos finally have. So, yeah, the defense probably shouldn't be as good as the expectations have been these past few years.
I'm not going to say every, because there's always an exception, but 99% of Broncos fans have no problem with winning 30 games 31-28.
Oh, no way. Except for, like, Vic Fangio's kids. You know, they're probably like, why aren't they winning 20-19?
Yeah, everyone wants to see 30 points on the board. And if the defense gives up 1 point less, no one cares.
Yeah, no, doesn't matter at all.
And I think it's fine to say the defense will take a little step back.
Yes.
But the offense is going to take a giant leap forward.
It's going to be fun and good. Next one coming in from Melbourne Broncos says, my boys, here's my take on a few things. Benito will be awesome. Why, you ask? Because George Payton drafted him. I trust every move he makes. Our harmonious clubhouse is the key to a great year. The Chubb Bulls incident last preseason could be a lingering storyline. That's why I believe Chubb will be traded before season's end to stock up on draft capital. Keep up the great work. Cheers, and let's ride.
I'm having a hard time remembering the Chubb Bulls incident.
In training camp, those two got into it and were really, really heated. That was when Garrett Bowles had to be sent into the locker room mid-practice to be cooled down.
I have a cure.
Winning?
Yep.
It helps everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure on these guys to win. And going into these last few seasons, that pressure is just mounting and mounting, losing season after losing season. Frustrations boil over. There'll be another fight in training camp this year, but it won't spiral. It won't boil over more than that, because these guys believe in the mission. And Nathaniel Hackett, I think, is going to do a great job of making sure these guys, have some camaraderie and there isn't some like offensive defensive divide, all of that stuff. There's going to be another fight in training camp. It could be Chubb and Bowles. Doesn't matter.
What do you think Nathaniel Hackett's response to a fight is going to be? Because some coaches embrace it, and some coaches say that is never allowed here. We can't have that.
He seems like a kick a guy out of practice thing. Who started it? You're out.
And then after
maybe
practice?
Just both are out.
And then after practice, say we can't have that here?
Yeah. I mean, I picture him being one of the people that says, like, How stupid are you guys? Honestly. You need him. He needs you for us to get where we need to go, and you're throwing at him? Mm-hmm. You got to be an idiot. I think that's what he would say.
I could see him doing something crazy. Like, he just, like, starts screaming in a high-pitched voice and, like, running over to him, like, crazily, and it just freaks everyone out. They're like, what is this guy doing right now? And it kind of dissolves the situation right there and then.
I think that's when you would see the realist side of Nathaniel Hackett, which is, like, you remember, like, you maybe had a boss or a friend's parent who said, like, don't make me be this guy.
Right,
you know?
Right.
I don't want to yell and scream. I don't want to be red in the face. Don't make me do it. I think Nathaniel Hackett would be the same way, where he's like, I want it to all be fun and games around here, but that is intolerable. Now you made me be this guy where I'm yelling and screaming and making you guys run or whatever it may be. I think that's where he is.
I think he's going to be the disappointed route. Really disappointed in you guys. And you know, it's the dad that everyone loves, and then you just disappointed him. It's gonna break their hearts.
Man, J27 in the comments saying I'm ready for the first public practice, dude. They're gonna have to like sell tickets or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be Peyton Manning era-esque.
Yeah, and when Peyton first got here, it was pre-Hill, right?
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see. Like, because back then it was just kind of difficult to pack a ton of people in there.
Yep, you're like hiding behind trees.
What's the max? Like 3,000?
I think it's 5.
Okay, 5,000. There's going to be 6,000 there the first day.
Yes, there will, and probably all throughout training camp as well.
Yep.
The Broncos had embarrassing numbers the past couple of years. In fact, they stopped releasing the numbers because it was so bad, Ryan. That's not going to happen. They're going to be parading them around. They're going to be making their own graphics to promote how many people are there.
They're going to have to do something just to like make sure there's enough room for everyone.
You got to get there early to get a spot.
Right, but I just mean like, I don't know. Like almost like making grids on the ground to be like, you can't take up more space than this.
Right. And really quick, J27 reminded me this. A lot of people have been asking if these off-season workouts and practices are open, if OTAs will be open. They are not open. The first time to see this team is training camp at the end of July.
Bring some shade.
And yes, bring some shade. And that's why you got to tune in with us, because we'll be there at OTAs, and we'll tell you everything that goes on.
We'll always bring the shade. Next one here comes from Dan Burke. Says, hey, guys, where do you guys stand on Draymond Jones and his long-term prospects with the team? Are y'all okay with paying him around $15 million a year if he gets close or reaches double-digit sacks, with it, which isn't something that's unreasonable, considering he'll be getting more advantageous matchups this year? Draymond definitely seems like someone who won't take a hometown discount. I wonder where... Oh, because he said that he's about to get paid. Yep. Yeah. So it's probably a case of paying him market value or letting him walk. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, this really reminds me of Malik Jackson. And what did he get? $15 million. What did he do? He had a really good season that was with the primetime team. I do think that Draymond can get $15 million a year, and I would be okay with paying him if the money's there, and that's actually going to be a legitimate question. Now, we know that you can manipulate the cap till the cows come home, and the Broncos are going to do that, but at some point, especially with how many guys the Broncos have, you're probably going to have to decide. They probably can't pay Bradley Chubb $20 million if he comes out and has a great season, and Draymond $15. So I would be okay with paying him $15, but you just might not be able to with other decisions.
Yeah, I got to see it, but I'll say this about hometown discounts. Everyone doesn't want to take a hometown discount until there's millions of dollars sitting on a table in front of them.
It's true, and we've seen Derek Wolfe take one. We've seen Chris Harris Jr. take one, and we're talking about the end of a season, like in December.
Yep. There's something to be said about security, and as much as I always want these guys to secure the bag, I want them to secure it as fast as they can, because you never know. The worst stories are the guys who get hurt in week 17 of a contract year, you know? So hometown discount is almost improperly labeled. It's more like a security discount. Now, there is sometimes where guys sign at a hometown discount and hit free agency. It's pretty rare, though. Basically, it's like, if I make it to the end of the season, I'm chasing the bag as much as I possibly can. But if you're going to offer me something and I don't have to worry about getting hurt for the last few games, and I can, just let loose, then it changes your perspective.
Yeah, it does. It's a security blanket for those guys. But then you also see guys like Malik Jackson who say, yeah, I'm not going to take it in any discount. I'm going to go and hit the open market and gamble, and it certainly paid off for him.
Yeah, it's like if someone told you I'm going to give you several $1 million right now.
Yes, I'll take it.
Or they said, I'll give you even more in 6 weeks. But once a week, you have to go through something that could very easily take all of that away from you.
Yeah.
You're just going to, for me, I'm taking the money.
Especially when we're talking about potentially $15 million a year, whether maybe that discount is $11 million a year, $12 million a year. You're talking about life-changing money.
And I'm saying once a week, just talking about games. Anything can happen at any time.
Right, exactly. Yep, 100%. Next one coming in from Mike, 1809, says, fellas, it's been too long since I've commented, but I've listened every day. Keep up the great work. Thank you. First, I just want to wish Mace the best. Seriously, that guy is awesome. His knowledge was one of my favorite things when I joined the DNVR fam a few years ago, and he's going to be missed. Major props to Mace for putting his family first and doing what's right for the Mason family. Really hoping that he'll pop in and out of the show from time to time. Also, yesterday's discussion on Mexican food had me missing Denver way too much. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's tough to find decent Mexican food out here. My favorite Denver spot is the Brewery Bar on Calumet Street. It's a total dive, but their green chili is unreal. That's where you find the best green chili. It's dives, not necessarily there.
Yeah, Brewery Bar is one that gets a lot of rave reviews from true Denver people.
Sounds so good. He says, looking forward to seeing the Broncos sweep the Raiders this year and shutting up all their stupid takes. Hoping that Tim Patrick catches another first down and talks smack to McDaniels like he did to Gruden last year. Ha, too good.
That was like 3 years ago.
That is wild how all of these years blend together. There's no one on this team that was there for the Josh McDaniels era.
No, definitely not.
Vaughn would have been the closest, and he wasn't even there.
Yeah, but the I know this because I talked to Tim Patrick about this in the locker room after it happened. So that means it was definitely pre-pandemic. So that takes us back 2 years. So at the
2019,
at the earliest, it was in 2019.
Man, that is crazy.
Yep, it is. Next one from Jordan Andrews. My boys, I need that golf hat that RK was wearing yesterday on the pod. When is a restock coming in? Hopefully soon. Keep an eye on the DNVR locker.
Man, those hats are so sweet.
I completely agree. Also, by the way, if you sign up for the golf tournament, not a golf hat, but you get a sick golf towel. DNVR's got Knucklehead on there. It's got a bunch of DNVR logos on it. So come play in the golf tournament with us and get yourself a sweet gift. Not quite the hat, but the hat will be back in stock, and then you can be all DNVR'd out on the golf course, like I personally am.
I love it. Next one coming in from Vash.
Wait, he still had more. Also, in light of Shelby Harris's comments about number 96 being used soon after he left, it got me thinking what numbers are next to be retired. For me, it's 58 for Vaughn, 24 for Champ, and 88 for DT. What do y'all think? Let's ride. This conversation comes up every offseason several times, and this feels almost like a boomer take from me. But I'm pretty much anti number retirement.
Should they unretire John? Should they unretire 18 for the sub letter of Peyton Manning?
No. First of all, give Peyton his own thing. Please, for the love of God. Second of all, you can leave whatever's retired.
Okay.
But third, I hope that the world goes on for a really long time. And I hope that they're playing football all that time. If you retire the number of all the greats, we're going to run out of numbers eventually. So then eventually you might have to just wipe the whole slate clean.
Unless you do it by first ballot Hall of Fame. And then you would have Champ Bailey's number retired. You would probably have Von Miller's number retired. But then let's say you do get to 25 guys. Then it's okay. If you're dealing with that issue because you have 25 first ballot Hall of Famers in the year 2250 or something, it'll be okay.
You're going to have like 20 repeats on the 90-man roster.
Yeah, and that's okay because you have so many first ballot Hall of Famers, then you can wipe it.
Fair enough. The one I will say is, like, I hear the argument for DT. It's a different scenario to me that I would support for sure.
So then my question, my mind immediately goes to Darren Williams.
Yep. The difference is, and this is not to take away from Darren because he was probably my favorite player at the time. DT is an all-time great. Probably the best receiver in Broncos history. And was sadly taken away from us way too soon. I would like to see him honored in one way or another. doesn't have to be retiring the number.
Right.
But like, I don't want to just see it go away. Last year they put the helmet decal on, they put the thing on the sideline. I thought that was a nice touch. Obviously, snapping the ball without an ex receiver out there just slayed me.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him honored in one way or another. Of course, he'll be in the Ring of Fame, and maybe we can expedite that process and just do it this year. I think that would be nice. But whatever it is, I would love to see them permanently honor DT in the stadium in a very visible way.
Well, one of the things that the Broncos did with Darren Williams is now they named an award after him, given by the media, the Darren Williams Good Guy Award. Demaryius Thomas actually would fit that perfectly as well. But maybe it's the Demaryius Thomas locker room. And whether it's one in the stadium, whether it's the one
in the
Broncos facility, or another award. Yeah, they could do another award or just something where you're honoring him, where it's not necessarily a jersey retirement. And I'm fine if they want to do the jersey. That's totally fine. But there's other ways, too.
How about like a mural on a wall inside the stadium? Like a prominent wall.
Why not a statue?
Yeah, I mean, statues is, like, to me, is a step above number retirement. Again, not against it for DT.
The stadium has so much room around it for multiple statues.
Yep, and they already have. I mean, he would technically get a statue or a bust if he goes into the Ring of Fame.
Yep.
But Pat Bowlen's the only one who has one right now, and I think it'd be great. Peyton has one in Indianapolis.
Wonder what happens when they move the stadium. If they build a new stadium somewhere else.
Please, can't we just keep alternating back and forth? So now put the new stadium where the old one was, and then make the parking lot.
It'd be great.
I feel like we could do that for all of time. But I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and they were shocked about the whole new stadium thing. Like, they hadn't heard about it, so I had to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to this to me: you go out there by the airport, and there's nothing but land.
Yep.
And so not only can you buy the stadium.
Yep.
But you can buy all the land around it. Remember, we're thinking Rob Walton here.
Yep.
He could buy all of Colorado if he wanted to.
He's $70 billion will do that.
You own all the land around it. You develop it for housing in some areas. You develop it for retail in other areas. You put a sick entertainment center 100%. In there. You could do all sorts of stuff. You
have a dome to get Super Bowls and concerts in the winter.
And so, as much as I hate it, and I really hate it,
yeah,
I never want to see a team leave downtown. It's probably going to happen.
If they build a new stadium, it's not going to be downtown.
And they're not, people don't buy teams just for fun, really. They buy teams to become even more wealthy. And the team itself isn't going to make a dent for Rob Walton in terms of him making money. Even if the Broncos go undefeated and win the Super Bowl and all that stuff and it's sold out, like it already is. So you make millions off of that. If you really want to create an empire, you have to build a new stadium and develop around it.
And think about this. If the more money Rob Walton has, probably the better it is for the Broncos. Or what if his, now you wouldn't be able to vote on this, but what if he thought, I'll build the stadium myself. I'll pay for it myself, which I don't think he's going to do. And then says, but I'm moving the team out of Denver in order to make the money back by having this empire. Would you take that? So you don't have to pay
instead of what?
Instead of paying for the stadium, and it's right by where Mile High is now. Which one would the public want more?
People probably won't like my take on this. Just take my money, stay in downtown.
It's coming out of my paycheck before it hits my bank anyway.
That's what I was gonna say. As bad as it may sound, I probably won't notice it that much.
Right.
That sucks, but I would make that trade. I would pay my, I don't know what it would come down to me actually paying.
Right. Dollars.
I think.
Yeah.
So that seems like an easy one for me. Now I realize I'm making a decision for millions of people, not actually, but in this scenario. And I get it. I totally get what taxpayers saying, why would we pay for the stadium? I agree. Why would you? Mm-hmm. But for me personally, I'm yeah, you want $500 to keep it here? Take it.
Oh yeah, that motion would fail big time. It would be moved out by DIA in a heartbeat.
I'll pay a couple other people's fair share.
Here we go. I love it. I bet we could get some people in the YouTube comments to chip in.
Yeah, exactly. a little bit of news on this front that I saw come out this weekend. The Denver Post reported this. Rob Walton's son, don't know his name.
Mr. Walton.
Walton Jr. He bought a $22 million property in Cherry Hills Village.
Just outside Denver, Colorado.
Just outside Denver. You know what else I will say, though? Maybe a dub that he did it closer to Denver than to the airport.
Maybe. And that just shows you Rob Walton probably very serious about his bid. And what have we said? If Rob Walton is serious about it, it's going to be his. And I don't think he'd be this far into the process without being serious. He doesn't need to tour the facility like he did, because you know what, Ryan, he could see a building he doesn't like. He could see the whole facility and say, boy, I don't like this facility at all. It doesn't matter to him. He can just spend a couple $100 million to build a new one.
Yep. I mean, the fact that they're like the family is already putting roots down over here, it almost to me it almost feels like them like looking at the other candidates and being like, just get out of here.
They're like, by the way, my son just bought a house that's worth as much as you are.
Yeah, for real. Right next to Russell Wilson.
Yep, exactly. And I'm pretty sure when Russ sold it or bought his house for $25 million, it was the most expensive that's ever been recorded in the Denver metro area.
By $10 million.
And so then Rob Walton's son, not even him, comes in just $3 million short of that.
Yeah, and there was some conversation, like they paid way over asking, which you do in Denver these days.
Yeah.
But like way over asking. And some people just said like, yeah, they didn't want to deal with the process. They saw their house. They said, this was our house. They got it. Then there were some other people who got into like capital gains because they're selling another. That's over my head. But it is interesting that they spot the most expensive. They paid more than $10 million more, which on a scale of 1 to 25 million, 10 million is a massive.
Yes,
it's exponentially more. Not actually, but
it's 40%.
It's a lot more than anything else has ever been. And then the Waltons come in right behind it and say, yeah, now it's only 3 million more.
Yep, exactly. And I just wish Russ would have come in and offered me $25 million for my place. I would have gladly given it to him.
That would have been a good deal for one of you.
Yes, exactly. Next one from Vash the Man says, yo, my boy. Sad to hear Mace won't be going on. Going to miss his insight. Enough with the sadness. Back to Broncos. One comment. Greg Dulcich wearing long socks is just a California thing. Being from Cali, I wear long socks with my shorts. I don't wear that kind of shorts, but my wife looks at me and asks why I wear long socks with shorts. Well, why not just pants? Well, I told her because pants are too hot and I don't want to get sunburned. Can't wait to hear y'all's reaction. Peace, love, and chicken grease. I'm out. PSR for the long comment. Let's ride. By the way, that is not a long comment. We love hearing from you, Vash the Man. And the thing here is, I get the long socks that are calf length with shorts. So it's a look. It's a style.
Some Vans or something.
Right, exactly. Something like what you're wearing, the white and the white shoes, the white socks.
Yeah, I guess some people go white on white with it.
But all the way up to the knee? I don't see people walking around with those. More baseball socks.
Well, the football socks go up that high too.
You just never see it.
Yeah.
I guess it's because they're wearing pants. And once the regular season comes around, he's going to be wearing pants.
Yep. Some of them do like shorter sock, but then they have tights underneath it. So it goes like white, blue, white.
Right.
Something like that.
That's your type of thing. Looking good.
Actually, in Madden, I have all of my players just with one color.
Okay. But all of them have a color. Like, it's not just they're all wearing some sleeve of
purple
some sort.
socks, basically.
Yep.
For the Vikings. Was there any other question there? No, it's just about the style in California. It's definitely a style. I mean, you see it all the time. It's like maybe like a skater vibe a little bit.
Yeah, but I think the California vibe is exactly what it is.
Fair enough. Denver Rivals says, hey guys, thanks again for mentioning Denver Rivals program. The kickoff party was a lot of fun, and we have built up some momentum for involvement with the program since. I hope the DNVR fam can help out the program that bridges the generational gap for Alzheimer's advocacy and activism. I can't believe Mace is moving on. And the show is at peak entertainment when RK and Zach and Mace were talking about the boys in orange and blue. I know the Broncos organization is not hyped on Albert O being tight end 1, but how about training him to be a Cordell Patterson type player? Interesting. He could be a huge mismatch to mix in some receiving reps. I know the wide receiver room is full. So is the tight end room. He has shown some great flashes. I hope he gets the ball and could be a good blocker on corners instead of linebackers. I love when the weather gets warmer, but it means I'll be in sports purgatory soon, where the erratic Rockies are the only outlet I can go to. I love the summer. I'm ready for the start of football season. I'm hoping and believing Wilson will put all the doubters to rest once Hackett and Wilson are running a pass primary offense that will play into the strengths of the personnel. Keep up the great content and support Denver rivals. Albert O. No.
I mean, he's not Cordell Patterson.
Cordell Patterson makes people miss. He's like a shifty, he's obviously straight line speed. But he was like a great returner because he makes people miss. Mm-hmm. Albert O, that's not part of his game at all.
Here's where Alberto can be good, is just a total mismatch. And he can be your second tight end out there. He can be your only tight end out there on very obvious passing downs. He can be lining up as a wide receiver. And I think if the Broncos are going to look at this right, they're going to have to take pieces on and off the field throughout a game. Alberto should have his own package and should be getting snaps.
Let me ask you this, though. The Broncos are first and goal from the 5. Mm-hmm. They line up in the shotgun. 3 wide receivers right and a tight end left. They're trying to ISO a tight end on whoever the Seahawks want to match up with them.
Yep.
And they're saying we're going to run slant and let this guy use his body to box out that defensive back and catch this touchdown. Who's the tight end?
Eric Tomlinson, 6'3", 265 pounds. Initially, I'm going Alberto.
Okay. I think it's going to be Greg Dulcich.
And I think it'll be Greg Dulcich. I would personally go Alberto. They love Greg.
They love him.
Yep.
And I think they're going to want to get him involved and confident and all this stuff early. And I think in week 1 you'll see something very similar to that.
Yeah.
Spread them out. Give an ISO out there. Whoever you put out there, it's either going to be a speed mismatch or a size mismatch.
Yep.
Russ is going to put it in a place where he just uses his body to box it out. Or if it's a linebacker, he beats him off the break and hits him on the slant. That's another premonition. It's happening week 1.
I like it. Week 1. Another one from Mile High Bucket says, my boys, just following up yesterday's pod. I have not yet been to all the stadiums, but the goal is to see the Broncos in every one. So far, he's done 15, as well as the Hall of Fame game in Canton. This year, after Seattle, Carolina, and Baltimore, I will be at 18. I'm saving the AFC West games for last with a finale in Vegas, because it's Vegas. My wife and her family are from Mexico City, so next time the Broncos are at Estadio Azteca. Thank you. We're going for sure. We will for sure be there. Following up on RK's comment on how it sucks when you go to an away game and lose, allow me to share a story. In 2019, we drove to Green Bay to watch the Broncos. 9-hour drive, by the way, because there's no easy way to fly there. Anyways, long story short, Joe Flacco sucks, and we lose the game, and traffic is horrible getting home. We don't get home until 3 a.m., and I have to go to work in the morning. But the people were super nice. The cheese was good, and the stadium is checked off the list. Glad you don't have to go there ever again. Fast forward to 2022. I'm at my desk at work, and it's announced that we got Russ. I just put my head down and teared up. No more Joe Flacco ruining road trips. We back, baby.
Let's go. Next one from Denver Rivals. Says, I will also add that La Loma is one of the best Mexican restaurants in the area. I miss when they were at their OG location right by Spear and I-25. Fun fact, I moved there with the idea of oh my God, I'm going to be able to walk to La Loma.
Yeah.
Mowed it down in days.
Oh, no.
And they still haven't built anything there.
Wow.
Now, I've heard that they're actually... they've begun actual construction on something. But this was 5 years ago. They haven't done anything.
So you move them back when it's back?
No. Yeah, there's a La Loma near where I live now where they moved to.
There you go. If you want Ryan to move by you, you got to move next to La Loma.
Bring the green chili. It was a destination to get some good Mexican food before walking a quarter mile over to Mile High for the Broncos game. Yeah, I actually went there before Broncos games a couple of times. It was great. Margaritas before a Broncos game. Count me in. I parked there for some great games like 2014 going against Nathaniel Hackett and Kyle Orton-led Bills.
Wow.
The 2015 Sunday Night Football game when the Broncos beat up Aaron Rodgers' Packers. And 1-L when they choked against the Raiders in 2015 and showed how much of a Swiss hold O-line our team had. Shout out Michael Schofield. Please support the Denver Rivals program and go Broncos. And finally, from Orange is the New Sack, RK, that Cole Swindell song has been living rent-free in my head. The Broncos are back, baby. He's from Georgia, so maybe he's talking red, meaning the Falcons, or even Georgia, like UGA.
Okay, yeah.
Who knows? What country concert are you going to in the summer? Well, I'm going to Luke Combs on Saturday.
This Saturday.
Bad news. Weather looks like ass.
Oh, no.
Yeah, rough.
And
looking forward to it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And we get a 50-degree day in the middle of May.
And it's like 87
the end of
today.
May, really, yeah. Rough.
Even on Thursday. Man, you know what that means, though? That just means a couple more cold ones before and during.
No, some warm ones, meaning whiskey.
There you go. That's very country as well.
Yes, exactly.
There's probably definitely a song about that.
I'm sure there is. Yes. Let me think if I can think of one off the top of my head. I can't. But yeah, it should be a good time. Hopefully the weather just like miraculously flips. The weather is putting a massive thorn in my side this weekend.
It is a big one.
And finally, we have a super chat. Let's hit this really quick on our way out. From Dylan, who says, we did lose 4 games by 1 possession last year. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All 4, Russell Wilson, you win them.
Yep, there you go. And that's what a great quarterback should do, be able to win those fourth quarter games.
Absolutely. I feel like we won the 4th quarter of this podcast,
Let's
even
go.
though it only has 3 periods. Speaking of 3 periods, go Avs.
Then we won in overtime.
There we go. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Hit us with a thumbs up on YouTube on your way out, and we will catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.